Okay guys, so let's have a look at the solution to our braces problem. So basically we had a suite of tests that was here to assert that this braces function would return true if there was a matching closing brace of the same type for every opening brace. So that this would return true because it's a perfect match all across, and this, things of this nature where there's an opening curly brace but a closing parentheses would return false because there's not a one-to-one matching for every opening brace and every closing brace. So let's have a look at the solution to this problem. Okay, so the first thing we do is that if there is no string, we simply return false, which makes sense, and then we declare a stack, an array of some sort here, and then we split the string into an array of braces. Now this is the key thing here, the stack, and we'll touch on this in just a moment. Okay, so after that we simply loop through all of the braces that are in our braces array here, and then we just grab the last element on the stack, and we call that last opening brace. Okay, so if the brace that we are looking at when we iterate through the loop is one of these, one of the opening braces, we add it to the stack, and then we break. If the brace that we are looking at is a closing curly brace, then basically all we have to do is to check if the last opening brace, in other words the thing that is the last element on the stack, is equal to the opening curly brace. Because if it is, then we have found a match, which means that we will simply remove or pop that opening brace off the stack. And if it's not, then we simply return false because we have found a mismatch. Because the idea here is that if we look at this example here, for example, let's look at one of the easier examples. For here, for example. So what's going to happen is that on the first iteration, we add the opening brace. This is open, and on the second time, we're going to look at this brace. And because we are now evaluating, let's see here, basically we see that this is the next thing that's coming in, and we check if the last element in our stack is the opening counterpart to the closing brace, which it's going to be. Then we simply pop that off the stack, and then we go to the next thing and we add that to the stack, pop it off because the next thing is a closing, add the opening parentheses, and then we see that the next thing is going to be the closing parentheses, and so on and so on and so on. And this even works for the nestings. If you look at this, so first we're going to add this opening brace to the stack, and then the second opening brace to the stack, and then we will pop the opening brace because the next thing is a closing brace, and then we're going to pop again because it's a closing brace, and now the stack is empty, and it just keeps on going and going like that. And the beauty here is that if you always check the last element on the stack, and for whatever reason that is not the and you basically you're getting a closing parentheses, and the first item or the last item in the stack is not the matching counterpart, you can simply return false immediately because you now know that there's a mismatch. We have an opening brace that is not matching our closing counterpart that's coming next in the stack, basically, or next in our iteration. So, and then finally, when we've looped through all of the items, we simply check if the stack is empty, because if the stack is empty when we've been looping through all of it, that means that we have added all of the parentheses the opening parentheses that we have added to our stack, and then all the closing parentheses that have been matched against the stack basically have popped and removed all of the closing braces. Then the stack should be empty because we are adding stuff, and then we expect to remove as much stuff as we are adding to the stack. And then finally, if to cover this case here, if it's just an opening brace, we simply return false by default, because what's going to happen if it's only one brace is that we're going to do one iteration, and it's going to match this case here, and we're going to push that brace on top of the stack, but then we're not going to loop anymore, so we can simply return false. And that's basically it. That's at least how I solved it. This is a code test that I had. This is one of the trickiest code tests that I've ever had, but it was a code test at a very, very big company. And this is basically how I solved it. Have a great day.